how to write spy music like this. Or like this. Stick with me till the end to find out. So in this video, I'm gonna take you through the whole composing process. I was asked to compose original music for a podcast by a friend. His podcast is called Fun Police. Podcast is about politics, analytics that's happening around high chairs of this world. So when we first met to discuss the project, here are the notes that I got from him. And while I was listening to him, the pictures just started coming into my head. So I imagined like spies, crime, illegal stuff. And when I came home, I just sat in front of my piano and I started with this. Why piano? Because he specifically told me that he very much likes piano, the sound of it. It makes you imagine like you're in some kind of a bar and there's a piano player that's playing there and that, you know, like a chamber feel. So I decided to make the piano the star of the show. Well, I'm a pianist after all, also. And since the music was meant to be investigative, ominous, suspenseful, I decided to go with this major minor third. It never resolves, it's a dissonance, right? But it's still minor. So just like conspiracy theories. Well, that was my thinking. So after the first piece, which I called the plot, I decided to continue with the main background music, which was the song that's called Runaway. And the third piece I wrote is called Conspiracy. It was meant to be short and very dynamic. These three pieces, it all just went smooth because I kind of had like a foundation. I had the picture, I just had to expand it. Not without a challenge, of course, but I just continued and continued writing until I could call it an album. So here's my thinking about the arrangement. Although all the music is already recorded, I'm gonna walk you through it just like it was for me. First of all, I wanted to come up with a chord progression, and it should be something suspenseful. The key doesn't matter too much, and the tempo should be somewhere around 100, right? Not too fast, not too slow. In my head, after that melody, came up with something like this. I mostly start with chords, then I go with the rhythm section. And for me, the drums, because I'm a drummer also, for me, drums and bass is the foundation of everything. And if it's not like acoustic drums, it's gonna be percussion or something like that. Yeah, and then I had to come up with some kind of acoustic drums, so I'm gonna try to recreate that. Not too much on the beat, but still. And then of course the bass. Guitar, of course. Vibe, like spy vibe and James Bond movies vibe. With the guitar, you should be really careful because you have to play like you would play it on the guitar, not going with full clusters, you know. The more or more keys than guitar strings would have. I went with simple chords, so it's just G minor and then it's A major minus 5. Some colors that I would add, for example, this electric piano, my Chord, which has a very cool spin effect. Build the suspense even more. Like, the song is called Runaway, so everything is blurred and you don't know where you're running, but you know you gotta run. But if I'm gonna drive you through all the process that I did, it's gonna be a very, very long video. So in the end, after I completed my arrangement, I would end up with something like that. Of course, there's another guitar. Builds the suspense. But it is just 2 chords. And then we would have to build into something else, right? So it cannot go on just like that all the time. Although maybe it can. It depends on the scene in the movie, right? But but here I wanted to go somewhere else because I wanted to, you're running. I wanted to convey this picture, like you running, you turn around a corner and you catch your breath, for example. And then you start thinking about everything that's happened. Just a few cello and viola lines. And we went to dominant chord. All right, break's over. Now you have to run again. Yeah, I added some like orchestral percussion, some effects like these, for example. Just to make it more ominous. Maybe some organ here. Maybe you catch a breath near a church. Now, for the mixing side, the thing is that this music, it doesn't have vocals, it's instrumental music. And because it is built mostly with acoustic instruments, very dynamic. And that's why you end up having a great dynamic range. And you have to kind of tame it. Because, for example, this piece here starts very quiet. But then in the end, it gets really loud. All those peaks, you want to tame them somehow, because on the mastering, they will distort because their range is very high and the rest of the track is very low. Compromising some of the lower mids of guitars that I really like with the lower mids, but I had to do that, and I had to take off some low mids from the double bass, and also I had to use a lot of clippers on a snare. For example, I have this clipper. Same for the toms, because toms are really dynamic. So yeah, the main thing is that if you deal with a wide dynamic range, you'll have to make compromises. But hopefully it doesn't sound as bad, and you can go check it out. This was an amazing journey, and I loved every part of it, truly. There were some challenges, but I overcame them because I really had a clear picture in my head. I just didn't stop until it was complete. First of all, you have to love what you're doing, because if you don't, then you're gonna have a really hard time. Don't be afraid to use references. References help you to create your picture that you're hearing. If it's something that you heard in that song, some melody you heard in this song, or maybe some, I don't know, atmospheric pad or a synth that you heard in a movie or a series you're watching every evening, that's all good and fine, and that will help you build your own picture and definitely give you some hints along the way of creating that. Be determined and just do it. Sometimes you just have to sit down and continue composing, because sometimes you have to write something really bad just to find out tomorrow that it's not so bad, and maybe you can get something out of it, or maybe you can move it in another direction and different song will come out. You never know. There's a good example, my Waltz of Desperation. It was almost like an improvisation, and it didn't have a structure. It had a melody, but it was not consistent. I decided not to delete it. It's one of the songs in the album. But then there's Waltz of Hope, which is the same Waltz of Desperation, but I just rearranged it a little bit and added some instruments there and made a structure. So that's how it works. I really hope you enjoyed this journey with me as much as I have. And I'll be happy if you really go to the media platforms and check out the album, and please let me know what you think. It's very important for me. And make sure to follow me through my Linktree. There's a link in the description, and you can follow me on Instagram. And make sure to check out Fun Police podcast if you're into politics and analytics. This new season that I wrote music to is coming out some early 2025, so be on the lookout. And see you next time.